Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. This is day 36 of 99 days of Deeper Embodiment. My name is Jason King. Thank you for joining. Um, I'm usually doing this live stream at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, which would be GMT -5 is Eastern Time. Um, However, today it's about 45 minutes later because I changed time zones. So I'm a little bit discombobulated with that. There's an hour difference. I'm in California time now, which is Pacific time. So I'm just adjusting. This is the first day I'm in California time. So yay. So I'm sorry that I'm 45 minutes late today. Um, Now, that being said, everything is unfolding exactly the way that it needs to, always. So 45 minutes late today for me can be perfect for all of us, for the whole. Good to see you too, Sarai. Really happy that you're tuning in. Whew. So there's a lot coming up today, a lot to feel through, a lot to see. And so I'm going to take my time because in stillness, there is timelessness and there is no need to rush. Today, I find myself in Orange County, California. And when I look outside, it's absolutely gorgeous. There is a tremendous amount of wealth here. There's a tremendous amount of abundance here. People surround themselves by things that look very pretty, and they put a lot of attention and energy into not only the surroundings, but also the body. So the bodies also look very developed. And at a felt sense level, what I feel is a lot of separation, which feels jagged, a lot of ideas that say, this is who I am, this is what I am, and those ideas feel very separate and jagged, and a lot of energy spent in maintaining that idea. And so I can feel that very acutely here. And as I feel it, it shows up in my body as as tension, a lot of tension, a lot of anger. And it feels like noise in the nervous system. It feels like a buzzing all the time. It's like my body is constantly buzzing with the hum of something that is disharmonious, with the buzz or the hum of something that does not resonate with the whole. And so as I'm feeling this disharmony within myself, the way that I find that I have to use my focus to be able to feel all of this is more and deeper focus on peace and wholeness, more and deeper stillness and being in the space of lots of noise within myself. If I don't find that stillness within me, then what begins to happen is that noise begins to have physical symptoms. It shows up as physical symptoms in my body. The physical symptoms are scratchiness in the throat, pain in the chest and the heart, um, in the stomach as well, around the head, headache. Mm. And so, without in, intense focus on stillness, without bringing that stillness in and through my body, then my body begins to take on symptoms. It begins to express symptoms. And the symptoms that it begins to express are just the ideas that are showing up within the space of me that are not being fully met, that are not being fully felt. Now, this is happening all the time with everyone. However, because these ideas are so jagged and they're so painful to feel in the body, they actually create a tremendous amount of disharmony in the body. Then the body begins to protect itself in the sense that the mind, which is around the body, begins to shield itself with ideas that block out whatever everyone else is thinking. And so rather than opening to connect with what others are thinking and feeling, because what others are thinking and feeling are so difficult to hold, so difficult to feel for the body, then the reaction is to protect oneself and to block that out. And this creates what is perceived as separation. And so there's a hardness, and that hardness is more ideas of separation. I am a separate self, and there's a threat here. in embodiment, we begin to open this natural protective shell, which is the idea of a separate self. Because if we don't, then we can't integrate any perspectives. Because we're constantly running the idea of a separate self, which doesn't allow for any integration of any perspective other than the one that we're holding. Any perspective other than the one that we're seeing from. So I can't integrate your perspective if I can't feel you. If there's no ability to feel you, if there's no ability to be present with you, then I cannot integrate your perspective. I cannot touch you. I cannot feel that perspective and integrate it into my wholeness and see that I am one with you. There's no ability to do that. And so while I'm here in California, what I'm feeling is that by and large, none of the bodies, none of the beings, none of the personalities that are here have developed within themselves the ability to touch others. It's very limited because, and it's almost as if it's like a reaction to the environment. It's a reaction to everyone else is running these ideas of separateness, and these ideas of separateness are so hard to feel that I have to also run ideas of separateness in order to protect myself, because it's really not easy to feel these. The perspectives are so painful, they're so jagged, that if I were to drop my defenses, if I were to honestly feel these, then it would be too overwhelming. And that's the sense of it. And so with this awareness, my feeling on this is that if this is something that you're experiencing because your body is opening and you're in a part of the world where there's a lot of heavy ideas running in the bodies around you, and you're beginning to experience this level of overwhelm or this degree of overwhelm in feeling all of these ideas, that um, it may be wise to listen to your body and to make plans to move out of those areas, because it doesn't really serve you to be in a place where there's so many heavy ideas running in everyone else around you all the time when you're trying to embody yourself. And yes, Soraya, that is one way to do it. Create a lot of space to be alone a lot. That's one way to manage it, and it's a way that I've managed it as well. Because a large part of when I was opening and when I was awakening this way, I was living in Brooklyn, New York. And so I needed to be alone a tremendous amount of time. And one thing that did help me was that I did have two dogs at the time too. And they were really, really supportive. They helped me feel a lot of the stuff that was coming up. But there's a greater awareness around it now that I'm seeing, and that is that with the light quotient that's in the collective at this point in time, the overwhelm is extreme. So the contrast between when I was in Utah and Arizona to now when I'm in Orange County is huge. It is a very, very extreme contrast. And so now here in Orange County, I have the ability to meet all of these perspectives and to feel them all because I'm very embodied. Yet at the same time, in feeling them all, it is having symptoms in my body. It's unavoidable. It is coming up with symptoms in my body because my body is flushing out these ideas. It is integrating them and flushing them out. And they're very heavy. They're not easy to sit with. And so that's exactly what I need to do here, Soraya. There's no other way around it, is I have to create a lot of space to be with me while I'm here. However, this doesn't really help me with tapping into the abundance that I am and really allowing that to flow. It puts me in a position where I'm just processing ideas for the collective all the time. And that cuts me off from the abundance that I am. And so at this point in time, my awareness is really keyed into, okay, well, what is useful for the collective as a whole? Is it useful for those of us that are awake in to this degree? And when I say awake, what I really mean is that you have the ability to feel into others this way. Does it serve us to stay in these areas of the world where we're feeling all these jagged perspectives all the time? And where these jagged perspectives are cutting us off from the abundance that we are. Does that serve us? Or do we need to start opening up to a different way of doing this? Coming together in a way where we can really begin to explore very deeply what can be created when there's extremely embodied beings together in one place. How deep can we go? What can we imagine? Can we reimagine all of it? I'm just putting these questions out there in the field so that we can start to feel them together. The idea that I need to be of service to the collective to the degree that my body is suffering does not make sense any longer. Now, that said, there is another way of seeing it, and that other way of seeing it is that, okay, when I feel all this and I'm integrating all of this, then I'm feeling through all of the trauma and I'm integrating all of the trauma. And that is true as well because it's all your power, it's all within you. So there is a truth to that as well. We don't want to close ourselves off to the point where we're not integrating any new perspectives. We want to be integrating new perspectives. That's the whole idea of consciously evolving. That's the whole idea of the evolution of the emotional body. So we don't want to close ourselves off to integrating new perspectives. However, at the same time, the question arising is, does it continue to serve us to be constantly processing out these heavy, heavy ideas for the collective? Totally. And I just want to put that comment up that Soraya said again. Superpower, yes, it would be a superb new world. And this is the way that I'm seeing it, Soraya, is that the new world already exists. So really it comes down to, can we get clear enough as a group, can we get clear enough to actually see it so clearly that it appears before us? Because it's already there. And it can be felt. However, when everyone around us is running really heavy ideas that are projecting a reality like Ocean County, California, then it just doesn't appear before our eyes. That doesn't mean it's not there. So I don't even consider it a new world. That's not the way, that's not my sense of it. My sense of it is that it is the world. It is reality. It is what is real. That's my sense of it. Is it then not on us to be that clarity? Absolutely. But on whom? That's the question here. On whom? So they may see themselves clearly. No, you're getting into ideas around it, Soraya. You're getting into ideas and projection around it. There is no they at all. There's only the self. And so what you're perceiving as a they is just ideas in the field of the self. And so when those ideas are very jagged and very separate, then they form separate reality around them. But that separate reality is not real. It's just an imagination that is around that particular idea. And so what is arising for me to express here at this point in time is really just a question for anyone who's in the process of embodiment and in the process of awakening to bring more awareness around this so that we can really begin to make choices that are in alignment with who and what we are. Make choices that are in alignment that say, okay, yeah, I actually want to be in a space where I'm getting clearer rather than in a space where I'm constantly processing out ideas. Because if we are together and we are all aligning ourselves with the frequency of stillness, then naturally that clears out all the ideas within us. And then what appears before us is what is real. But if we continue to stay in an environment where we're playing with these ideas all the time, then we are never giving that an opportunity. And when I say playing with these ideas, I mean playing in a world that is all ideas. So it's kind of like when Jesus says to the disciples, "Come follow me," and they drop what they're doing and they follow him. Are we willing to do that at this point? It feels necessary to put that out there because what I'm feeling is that there is an extreme now. There is a tremendous amount of light in the collective now. And with that light, it is making a contrast, it is creating a contrast that is extreme. So going from Utah to California is extreme. It's extreme on my body. The ideas that the collective is running in California are very, very painful on a body that is awakened. And it really just doesn't make sense to continue to play with them in any capacity at all. Not when there's so much contrast. I'm open to reflections on this. I'm open to feedback on this. What is it that you're experiencing? What is it that you're seeing? Does it feel fun to get together and begin to feel into what is real so that that can appear before us rather than continuing to play with the ideas of separate selves? Does that feel fun? Or is it still fun to play with the ideas of separate selves? I don't know. I'm just feeling it for me. What are you feeling? I don't see a separate self. I see one self. What I see is that in different areas of the planet, there's a lot of ideas of separateness still running. And that as I move, as I travel, I'm feeling that. And I can feel that very acutely. And I can also feel when there's a lot of stillness and there is actual reality popping up, and that can be felt and seen too. Soraya says, my experience is of processing constantly, experiencing heaviness constantly. Yeah, yeah, well, I mean, where do you live, Soraya? Do you live in a collective at the moment that is exploring very heavy ideas of separateness? If that's where you find yourself, then I'm sure that you're having a similar experience as what I'm having in Orange County, California. In a city, right. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, what is in a city other than really strong ideas of being separate? What creates the city itself other than those ideas? I had an experience where I was feeling into very deeply in meditation what reality, when we're not running these ideas of separateness, actually looks like. And as I began to feel into it, and as I began to see it very clearly within myself, what it actually looks like is nothing like the cities of today. The cities that we see around us, and um, the way that we surround ourselves with stuff, is all a reflection of the ideas that we're believing about ourselves, who we think we are. I remember when I was younger, I bought a BMW because that was what I was believing about myself. What I was believing was that I am somebody because I have a BMW. Look at me because I have a BMW. And I drove that BMW like an asshole. I probably endangered people too in doing that. So I'm sorry. I didn't have a lot of awareness at the time. And so surrounding ourselves with opulence, surrounding ourselves with stuff is really just a reflection of what it is that we believe we are. And so if I'm believing that I am a separate self and I am separate from you, and I want to reinforce that belief, I want to make that belief more visible and make it more strong, then that's what I find myself doing, surrounding myself with stuff that reinforces that belief. And then anyone that comes into my world, I'm going to show them my stuff so that they can agree with me that I am somebody, so that they can agree with me that this is who I am. When we drop those ideas and we begin to feel what actually is, and we stop running these egoic ideas, then it becomes very natural to live very simply. There's no need for a lot of stuff. So even if one is in a leadership position in a collective that's not running these egoic ideas, even if one is in a leadership position within that collective, which would unfold naturally because the embodiment of that being would just put them in a leadership position. It would be recognized by everyone within that collective because they could feel the level or the degree of embodiment of that being. And so it'd just be natural. There would be natural alignment to what it actually is. And so, with natural alignment to what actually is, because that's what's being felt, there's no dishonesty around it, there's no mind to paint a picture around it, there's no mind to cover it up. Even those beings that are very deeply embodied, that would be the natural leaders that would come out of a collective that was living this way, those beings would still naturally live very simply because they wouldn't be running any ideas about who and what they are. And so this collective would just align itself in a way where everything they did is for the collective benefit as a whole, because everyone is feeling each other all the time. And so all perspectives would be purified in that all the time. They would all be integrated and purified in the wholeness that is. There would be no resistance to this. And so as I began to feel into this type of civilization, what I saw was that what it looks like is all the collective energy is put into great temples, pyramids, structures that are designed to enhance the collective consciousness, to strengthen the ability of the collective to communicate within the collective and to feel each other, and having that exploration. Much greater psychic capacity, much less movement. And so the question that is arising is, do we want to continue energizing these ideas of separateness? And this is a question for anyone who's awakening, anyone who's awakened, anyone who's feeling these ideas very acutely and is aware of them. Or is it time for us to come together and begin to align ourselves with what is? And this is a question that cannot be answered with the mind. It can only be answered at a felt, feeling sense level. If what you're feeling is becoming too intense for your body, if you're in overwhelm all the time, then perhaps there's a signal there. Perhaps you need to let go of everything that you've known and begin to align yourself with what is. And find yourself with other beings that are also embodying and evolving consciously. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to end today, day 36, on this note. I love you so very much, and I will see you tomorrow for day 37. Thank you. Bye bye.